Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone for another edition with Energy Healing. We have Alina from Energy Healing, Tarot and Astrology reading, and we're going to now do another series on how to heal chronic and mental illness with energy healing. So Alina, please take it away on the first episode of this series.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to connect with all of you in another series where we talk about chronic physical and mental illness. And in the first episode, we're going to talk about how to heal CPTSD with energy healing. So let's talk about the definition. What is CPTSD? CPTSD is complex post-traumatic stress disorder that is a result of repetitive exposure to a series of traumatic events that occurs over decades. Okay, so the reason for CPTSD could be many reasons, like toxic relationships, narcissism, codependency, physical or mental abuse, chronic sexual abuse from older siblings, parents, or others, abandonment or betrayal, drug addiction, either a death of someone close to their family, because when a death happens, if you are financially dependent on that person, so you go through a financial crisis as well. So the mental shock, the social burden, the social pressure and everything, like the father died and the son has to be the man of the house right now, that kind of burden, it gives you a huge shock. So witnessing someone's death in a very unexpected way can give someone CPTSD because of the after effects of the death. NDE, near death experience, because it could happen for suicidal attempts or it could happen because of overdose as well. Because a lot of the times when people, the drug addicted people, try to withdraw from the drugs, they go through the withdrawal syndrome, and in that process they overdose on drug and they have NDE. So really after NDE, you don't see the life and the reality the way that you used to see before. Again, chronic physical or mental illness, like if someone has depression or any kind of chronic illness like cancer or anything else that's been with you for decades, and living with that chronic illness might give you CPTSD.
Right.
Any kind of one-time accident, because it happens that you have the accident once, but you have a lifelong injury,
Mhm.
right? Probably you have some kind of bone-related injury that took a lot of time to recover. So living with that injury and recovering from that might give you CPTSD. And the last one is, I think, any kind of by-born physical or mental health issues, like some people are born with heart diseases or respiratory system diseases or any kind of physical deformity. These people, life is very challenging from them, and they don't feel accepted by the society very well. So life becomes very challenging for them. They get bullied a lot, and living with those limitation and challenges might give them CPTSD.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the symptoms of CPTSD. So these people get frequent triggers, panic attacks, flashbacks, nightmares, sleep disorder, dissociation. Their body will be continuously on fight or flight mode. They have severe social anxiety, eating disorder, emotional dysregulation, self-hatred, and victimhood mentality. Now let's talk about the difference between CPTSD and PTSD. Like I told you before, PTSD is a one-time occurrence,
Mhm.
and CPTSD is something that one thing or multiple things has been happening for over decades. So the main thing that you will ask yourself is the time and the occurrence. How
Okay.
many times that incident happened to you, and how many um, years that you've been suffering from that?
That makes sense.
Now let's see what happens to the brain who have PTSD or CPTSD. So the central nervous system part of the brain is affected. That is a reason why they get triggers and panic attacks. And when they have it, they have the tremor, the shiver, all this fight and flight response in the body. And their pineal gland that produces a lot of important hormone in our brain, like the mood, the melatonin, the sleep hormone, all of that. It produces either excessive amount of melatonin, so they sleep too much, or they have like very less melatonin production, so they have lack of sleep. And unstable mood is also one of the issues. And another thing is short-term and long-term memory. So what happens with these people, their short-term memory is very active and the long-term memory is not very active.
Right.
And then again, the amygdala and vagus nerve is overactivated.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about the treatment of CPTSD. So we have different kinds of psychotherapy. We have cognitive therapy, we have exposure therapy. A lot of the times, these two things can combine together to give you the maximum benefit. Like someone would have fear of driving because they had a car accident. So these people will, with the cognitive therapy, with the talk therapy, they will have that behavior changing patterns so they can shift towards a positive behavior pattern and have the mental preparation. And then they will be given this exposure therapy where they will go for driving with support. So they will then get rid of the fear of driving.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be very triggering though. It could be very, very triggering. You need to do a lot of shadow work, mental preparation to do all these things. Otherwise, it might trigger a lot. It's not for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
especially the exposure therapy. Next we have is traditional medication of CPTSD. So the psychotherapist might give you mood stabilizers like Xanax or Adderall or any kind of medication to relax your hypervigilant behavior, to regulate your sleep cycle, and also might give you antidepressant. Now, let's try to talk about the limitations of psychotherapy for CPTSD. A lot of the time, the main problem with this CPTSD is you need to find out the right psychotherapist in the entire world. So you will go to different psychotherapists, talk to them and try to find out because you wouldn't know until you talk to them. You wouldn't know until you start to work with them, until you start to take therapy from them and then see that whether or not it works for you. The second thing is, by the way, this process is quite expensive because you're going to different psychotherapists again and again to find the right match. And if within after trying the 3, 4 ones, you get the right one, you're lucky. But after like the 10th one, if you're like, man, I haven't found my perfect match, then it's a problem. There's a lot of money that you're going to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So another thing is that this psychotherapy will give you temporary comfort. I mean, the medication and the psychotherapy, trauma is something that is stored in your body. So only talking about that will not really help you. It gives you temporary comfort, but then again, it doesn't solve the problem 100%. And EMDR is not for everyone. What happens in EMDR is they reach to your subconscious brain where the trauma is, and they make you remember that, then they make you do something about that, like to create a new timeline where you have the whole control and power over that traumatic situation. So until or unless the patient is financially stable, socially secure, it is not for everyone. You need to be in a financially stable and mentally safe in a position so you can do this EMDR because your subconscious brain, there's a lot of things that are there stored. Are you really will you don't know what will pop out when you go for the EMDR. So are you prepared for that? There's a lot of mental preparation that you need to have. All right, so psychotherapy can be more traumatic for patients who have severe trauma. And just ask yourself this question, like if someone has 20 or 50 years of trauma, then how many years of psychotherapy will they need? This is an open question that I want to ask to everyone. And if you're watching this video, comment down below that how many years have you been in the psychotherapy and how much it has given you the benefit? And are you trying any other form of healing? Okay, so next I'm going to talk about the limitations of medication. So again, you'll have trouble finding the right combination of medicine. And a lot of the time it happens that due to the wrong combination of medicine, people might do suicide. Like, have you seen what happened to Michael Jackson and the famous musician Chris Cornell? Chris Cornell was, okay, so his doctor got also sued because he was on, I think, antidepressant, and he's been battling with the suicidal idealization for so many years. And the combination of medicine was just not right. When he had those medication, it triggered his suicidal thoughts. And the next thing that he did, even before like calling his doctor or his family member, he attempted suicide. I mean, medicines can really mess with your head real bad if it is the wrong combination of medicine, right? So another thing is that medication stops working at a time. So maybe for 6 months you're taking one combination of medication and it's helping you, but after a time it might not help you. So you need to find another right combination of medication. You need to go to another psychotherapist that can help you.
What are your thoughts on natural medications for something like this? Like, say, using psilocybin or psiloby?
Um, are they made of plant? I mean, the plant-based medicine?
Yeah, so like psychedelic mushrooms.
It's not for everyone.
Is
I
there
have people having like CBD oil and also some, I mean, the kind of medicine, I mean, plant-based medicine. But again, it's not for everyone. I'm not saying that it can give you extreme level of side effects, but again, I think it's just not for everyone.
Yeah. The main reason why I ask is like I microdose with magic mushrooms, and I got myself off of antidepressants and taking ADHD medication because of using the psychedelic mushrooms microdose.
Okay, so what was your experience with psychedelic mushroom? Is it positive or negative?
It's been positive.
Okay, so do you feel that at this point of your life that helps you?
Yeah.
Okay, because I have heard that with CBD oil, for a lot of people, it gives them magic effects. But for other people, they have claimed that it doesn't do anything for them.
Hmm.
Okay, so you're going to try it out and see, like I said, it is not for everyone. So you need to find out what works for you, even if it is like plant-based medicine.
Makes sense.
Okay, so the next limitation of medication is the side effects. They might have extreme level of weight loss or weight gain, and they might have too much of addiction of medication. Like they can't operate and function without medication to the point where like every day they will have to have like 10 different kinds of pills.
Mm-hmm.
Next, I'm going to talk about problem with traditional psychotherapy and medication. The first one is the cost. Why? Because a lot of the years are going to spend in finding the right psychotherapist and finding the right combination of medics. So in that process, and there's a lot of risk involved in it too, because you're going to try different types of medication. And if you'll have any kind of accidents in there, you will suffer for your whole life. Your family will suffer for the entire life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So another thing is it doesn't cure the CPTSD completely. It only numbs the symptoms, the medication, what I have seen. Okay, so the psychotherapy is more triggering and overwhelming. So a lot of the people that have claimed that they go to the psychotherapist and they come out even more triggered and overwhelmed. They come out crying. And a lot of I have seen that they claim to be psychotherapists, but they don't have good understanding of psychology. Like when you're dealing with people that has gone through sensitive issues in life, you need to talk to them in a very sincere, humble way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how they get licensed. And even after so many cases of patients being psychologically abused by psychotherapists and how they still run their clinic.
It's a huge reality over here too. I know a lot of therapists that I've personally met are actually very narcissistic, and they're only in the profession because it pays well.
Definitely. And because they could not get into any other kind of profession, so they found it quite doable, manageable. So they got their licensed managers somehow. So they're in that, but it's quite heartbreaking for me to see what they do.
Yep.
The next thing is medication blocks your emotion and it doesn't really solve your problem. Like imagine someone who has abandonment issue. How can you just fill that out? A
Yep.
lot of the years went by, a lot of the money went by. How can you just fill that up? I think emotion can be filled up with emotion,
Mm-hmm.
right? The way the medication try to block emotion is it's not healthy for the brain. Again, the medication induces temporary positive emotion and it is not long lasting. So you'll crave for more medicine, more and more. Here we're going to talk about the chain reaction in chakras during the CPTSD episode. And here I would want to tell my viewers that if you haven't watched my video about the how to have how to heal your fight and flight response with energy healing, go watch that video. It is in my channel. Here I have talked about in details what happens in the chakras during a traumatic incident and how to heal that. But again, very briefly, I'm going to discuss what happens for the CPTSD patients in the chakras. So you see in the root chakra, they're constantly in the fight, flight, freeze mode. So when someone approaches to talk to them, they will get very offensive very easily, or they will try to escape, run away, not having the conversation, or they'll be completely frozen and not being able to talk at all. What happens in the sacral chakra is they will attract a lot of toxic people and they will be afraid to interact with people, so much so that they might develop agoraphobia and social anxiety. What happens in the solar plexus is they will have the sense of unworthiness that I don't deserve to be here in this world. What happens in the heart chakra is they will have severe trust issue and emotional blockages that will give them depression and they will feel very hopeless about themselves. What happens with the throat chakra is they will be unable to ask for help and they will blame themselves for the situation. They will have the victimhood mentality and they will do the negative self-talk like, I should die right now, I shouldn't exist, this kind of things. So what happens with the third eye chakra is excessive stress hormone production. So like I said, the over or under production of melatonin or endorphin, oxytocin, this kind of hormone, important hormone, the happy hormones, it will produce the less of that and excessively produce the cortisol. And what happens with the crown chakra is because it covers the entire brain, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain, the short-term memory will be more active and the long-term memory will be less active. Now let's see in detail. When someone is going through this trauma for over the decades, these messages are encoded in the chakras, also in the DNA in the body, in the cells of the body. Our chakras are filters, and that helps us connect with the reality. I mean, the reality that we see here around us is because what we believe inside of our brain. So when your brain is filled up with negative things, we see negative reality around us. So let's see what happens to the CPTSD patient's root chakra. So their root chakra will be negatively over or underactivated. The messages that are encoded there is, I'm a victim of physical violence. I attract abusive behavior towards me. I deserve to get beaten up. Um, there is excessive level of frequency fear that attracts violence. Fear frequency limits their ability to take action, and they might also become unconscious abusers because they don't know how it is to be in a safe, healthy, harmonious dynamic with someone. They don't know about that. So they might always be in a defensive state. And you see in the picture that cockroaches are drawn to rotten food. Why? Because it's food for them. Cockroach, if you tell the cockroaches to go, get out, they won't be able to hear. If you kill those cockroaches, another bunch of cockroaches will crawl back in, right? As long as you have the fear frequencies embedded in your system, you'll see abusers in your life, no matter how many life partners you change. You'll always see the reflection of an abuser.
Yep.
All right, so what happens in the sacral chakra is the messages that are encoded is, I always attract toxic people towards me. The world is filled with abusive people. I am subject to abuse because of my gender, ethnicity, or something else. I hate myself. I hate my body. So what happens in the solar plexus is low self-esteem, self-doubt. They will tell themselves that I don't belong here. I'm invisible. No one sees me. So what happens in the heart chakra is they will tell themselves that no one loves me. I am unlovable. I am scared to trust people. I don't deserve happiness. I should give people more so they will love me back. What will happen to the throat chakra is I feel embarrassed to talk about my abuser. No one understands me or believes me. And if the abuser is someone who pretends to be a very much like a covert narcissistic person or who tries to look like a very honest person in the society, which is very common for the abusers. Next thing is they will tell themselves that no one listens to me. They will have eating disorder. They will keep complaining about themselves and about their life, and they will do the negative self-talk repetitively. Now, what happens to the third eye is they will have extreme level of sleep and mood disorder. They will tell themselves, like, I wish I hadn't seen that version of them. Like they have seen the monster version of a human being, and that is so unacceptable, so horrible. And they will tell themselves that I wish that I would forget that, and I can't forget what I saw. So that's where they will have repetitive flashbacks, triggers panic attacks. And this is the reason why the brain gets into the hypervigilant state. When they go to sleep, they can't sleep because the brain is telling them there is danger and you need to keep awake to keep yourself safe. So if I rest, I might get attacked. So your brain's primary function is not to keep you safe. Its primary function is to keep you alert. I mean, not to keep you happy, but to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens in the crown chakra is their central nervous system, the excessive cortisol production, short and long-term memory, and lack of happy hormone production. Those things will happen. It will also block your ability to channel life force energy from the source. And that's the reason why you'll feel you have weak immunity. And they will question themselves, like, why do I even exist here? Am I born to be tortured by my abusers? What have I done to deserve this? God hates me and now giving me punishment. I don't like being in this body, and this world is a living hell.
Mm-hmm.
So, how to heal CPTSD with energy healing? What we do here is we are going to remove the frequency of disease and trauma from your system without making you feel overwhelmed or being triggered or having any kind of flashbacks, you will feel like the way you feel after wake up in the morning, you feel a bit disoriented, you feel a bit like you're trying to connect with the reality around you, and then it gets better, right?
Hmm.
But not in a way like someone has induced you with sleep medication and you just can't stay awake. Not that way, but just the way when you wake up in the morning. The next thing is, after we do the energy healing, it will help to download the life force energy from the source directly, and your body will be able to spread that chi energy in your body very easily, so you'll feel more strong. And our energy healing will stop the medication dependency without any kind of withdrawal syndrome. It's not like you will have to pressurize yourself or distract yourself with um, for not taking the medication, but it is so that your body will feel strong by itself. Your brain will produce all the necessary hormones, the perfect level of sleep hormone, the perfect level of happy hormones, all of that very easily. So you would not have to like literally force yourself to not to take medication. I mean, you will start to like every day you will wake up and you will feel rejuvenated. You would not feel the craving to get those medications. Last thing is, energy healing can help you recover from your chronic physical and mental illness faster than traditional psychotherapy and medication without any kind of side effects.
Makes sense.
Okay, do you have any question?
Um, okay, so I actually have a large one here, and I know that I will benefit from this too. Is there are still so many people out there who don't believe in energy healing. How can you convince someone to try it and keep an open mind about it?
The first thing that I can tell them is to try with a demo session and see how it feels, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then after 24 hours, then you can see the difference, like how you feel. And then you can decide that is this something that you would want to explore, you would want to get to know more about. And also you can also take other people's review, like how they have cured their chronic physical and mental illness with energy healing. You can see Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's an amazing example of how he has healed himself.
What about people that are just purely afraid?
Well, I think afraid of what?
That's a really good question, because I've actually had this specific conversation with a few people, and like the questions always reverted back to myself. It's like, well, how did I become accepting of energy work? And my answer is I've always just had an open mind that there's been something bigger than what we've been told or bigger than us out there. So I've always had a curiosity behind it. But I have some friends that are just straight up will be like, no, that's stupid. And will not even give it the time of day to have a discussion about it, or will openly make fun of it. And it's almost like they're afraid of it.
Okay, so there are two things happening here. One could be that they're afraid, another could be that they're not interested. They have blocked up belief system. Okay, so if someone has a blocked up limited belief system, I think they have their own journey. They will try out psychotherapy and medication for a while. And when they will see that it doesn't work for them, then they will try to go for other modalities of healing. So until they fail with psychotherapy, they would not go try to explore other modalities of healing, and that's fine. They have their own journey.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Another thing is that if someone is afraid, like I would want to try energy healing, but I'm afraid, what if the healer is, I mean, what if he does black magic or something like, negative entity possession, if he would attach my body to a negative entity, this kind of things. I mean, it happens though. I can say, I mean, a lot of the YouTube channels that you see, they have like self-healing techniques and all. Do not try them, please. I mean, you don't know who make them. And spiritual world is not all positive. Spiritual means non-physical,
Mhm.
right? And in the non-physical realm, you have both negative and the positive beings. There are beings who would want to take advantage of us, and they try to come to us in so many different ways. So I would definitely suggest people to stay away from these YouTube self-healing videos, because you don't know who made them, and especially the subliminal videos. Like, you'll see that change your life with this subliminal and the booster and things like that. I would tell you not to try that.
Makes
And
sense.
yeah, one thing, before you go to a healer, you can check their review, like other people. Like these days, people are so good with marketing. They might have paid reviews as well. I'm aware of that. But the thing is that check their reviews and also have a demo session with them. I mean, before buying a program, have a demo session and see, are you comfortable with that healer or not? Because a lot of the time that it happens, it happened with me that I took healing for someone else, and they gave me so much of energy that I had a lot of pain. And when I told them, it's like, man, you have to just go through it. There's no way. But this is something that I'm extremely careful about. That if my client will tell me that, okay, this makes me uncomfortable, then I change my modality and send healing energy in a way that it is suitable for them to manage.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Okay. Another thing is that before going to a healer, you can do some affirmation, a prayer for yourself, like, okay, I'm going to explore a new modality of healing, and I expect to meet up good people who has my best interest. So that's how you can invite the good souls towards you who can help you heal.
Okay. Duly noted. That's good advice for people. Well, for myself to be able to deliver the message as well, and for our listeners on this. What kind of energy healing programs do you have for your clients and patients who deal with CPTSD?
All right, so I have this 1 month program where I give healing every day for 1 hour for 30 days. And they don't have to be on call every day. They can just check with me once a week. And after that 1 month, and then we'll see the progress of that person. And then we'll decide, like, do they need healing once a month or twice a month? Okay. Otherwise, you will see with the psychotherapy, they have 3 month or 6 month programs. And even when someone takes that program, they need another program, or they need to go to another psychotherapist. So it's a long-term process. And I can't really, I mean, you understand that because chronic illness needs chronic healing. You have gone through trauma for, I mean, over decades,
Mm-hmm.
so many decades. You need a few months after that you can see the significant difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we'll have a link for your program in the show notes at the bottom.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. That's all the questions I got. Is there anything else you want to add before we take off?
No.
All right, Alina. Well, thank you so much for the intro to this series. Um, Lots that I learned, lots that I know our viewers would have also learned. And in the next session, we're going to be talking about drug addiction, correct?
Right.
Beautiful. So, guys, make sure you tune in next week for that episode. I know, especially where I'm living, drug and alcohol addiction is bad. So thank you again, Alina. Please, for everyone watching or viewers, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support is always appreciated. All of Alina's contact information will be down in the show notes below, as will mine. And on that note, take care, everybody.